Hey, hello, Facebook and Instagram. We are live. I'm excited to be with you here today, and I have some really juicy content on why moms stay stuck when they really want to change. And this is key for so many people. If you know that you need to organize your life and you know you want to live more intentionally, but you've tried to get on a schedule, you've tried to figure this out, you've tried to like really learn your do time management, say, but it doesn't last. You can't seem to stick with it and you find yourself falling back into old patterns. Or if you know that more organization and more balance would really make a difference in your life, but you don't know where to start because you just feel like kind of your mind is unorganized, or it feels really overwhelming, so you just stay stuck, then definitely you're going to want to listen to this video. There's a lot of great stuff in here. Definitely you're going to want to also check out Mompreneur Life Made Simple. That starts next week, and that program is geared toward all of this. So we are going to jump in and talk about how to get unstuck, what that means, what that will do for you, and really some key things that you can put into practice right now. This is going to be just a brief overview of what we go deep on in Mompreneur Life Made Simple. Before I dive into the content, I just want to call out the fact that I'm wearing a hat. Last time I wore a hat in my video, my husband was like, so why were you wearing a hat? Just because I'm not usually a hat person. But it was the same reason then that I'm wearing a hat today, which is I really need to touch up my roots, and I should not have that on video. Like, my roots are so bad. I inherited my dad's white hair, and he went prematurely gray. He started going gray in his 20s. I got my first gray hair when I was 16 years old, and now at 43, like, it's every couple weeks I have to touch up my roots. So, hat day. Anyway, so we are going to talk today about what is going to get you out of that pattern of staying stuck. What's going to get you out of that pattern of disorganization. And we're going to talk about habits. So that might be kind of a jump. Like, what? Why are we going to habits all of a sudden when we're talking about this idea of overwhelm and disorganization? And here's the reason. Habits actually run our lives. So, depending on who you talk to, the research shows that between 40 and I've heard up to 95% of our days are run on habit. And when we try to do something different, we can really struggle. I've heard the analogy of an elephant. So, imagine like in India, where they have a guy riding on top of an elephant. And the elephant is always going to take the path of least resistance. He's going to take the path that's worn in the road. If the driver wants to go a different way and he turns and he tries to go through the foliage, whatever foliage they have there in India, and he turns and he tries to go, and the elephant doesn't want to go that way, well, guess what? He's not going to go because the elephant is going to take the path of least resistance. Now, we have pathways, neural pathways in our brains, and are just like that elephant, our brains like the path of least resistance. They want to go the easiest way. And that easiest way is the way you did it yesterday and the day before and the day before. It's that way of habit. Now, maybe that works fine if you're talking about, the habit of brushing your teeth because you want to keep doing it, or the habit of getting in your car and buckling your seatbelt because that's a habit that you want to keep. But when you have a habit that you want to change, a lot of times what happens is we say, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to change this habit. And we get on that elephant, we try to turn it, and there's no path there. There's all that brush. And that we maybe can work our way through for a couple steps, right? And then that elephant, that habit goes right back to that path. And as a human, being the one who wants to change that habit, trying and then being stuck back on that path, it's really frustrating because when you're just going through this, you feel like, oh my gosh, why can't I do this? I want to do this. Other people do it, and yet I'm not able to create this new habit. There are a few things that will help you to do this. First of all, one thing that we try to do most of the time when we create a new habit we try to do something drastically different because we see the need for change in our lives. So if we're talking about our schedules unorganized, maybe you wake up in the morning and you do your thing, and you get your kids breakfast and your house is kind of a mess, and you're just like going through the day, feeding your kids, doing whatever the day brings at you. And then you decide, I want to totally turn it around and I want to get organized. And so I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to have a morning routine. I'm going to, make this gourmet breakfast. I'm going to clean for 2 hours. And you have all these big things. You have all these big things that you want to do. It's so much. It's like trying to turn that elephant back and do a 180 and do a completely different thing. It's almost impossible when we do giant changes like that to stick with it. It makes it so hard on ourselves. Um, Instead, what we want to do is we want to create a pattern interrupt. So, um, briefly, when we're creating habits work like this. There's a trigger, there's something that prompts us to do the habit. It could be internal, like we feel something like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to go grab some ice cream, or I'm bored, I'm going to go grab some ice cream, or my favorite show is on. It might be something external. My show just came on, I'm going to go make some popcorn. Whatever these triggers are, the habit is the thing that we do. And then finally, the reward. The reward is whatever we're getting out of this habit. And so we need to do something. We need to create a trigger in our lives. We already have, okay, we don't want to create a new trigger. We want to create a new habit. And so what we want to do is keep it with a trigger that's already happening. So for example, when my show comes on, I'm going to start this new habit. But if our habit before was going and making some popcorn, and we try to switch that out with having green beans, right? Unless that reward is still there, our brain is not going to like it. We have to make sure we have both pieces, the trigger and the reward, or else the habit will not stick. And so when you're thinking about, I want to create a new habit, you really need to be intentional and recognize, what's the trigger? What's causing me to do this habit? And what do I get from it? What is the reward? And so when you're replacing habits, you need to find something that will fit the bill on both ends. When you're just creating a new habit, you're going to hack this by, what am I already doing? For example, you're already waking up every morning. So it's easy to create a new habit first thing in the morning. You get out of bed on the same side of the bed, right? You get up and then you can start your new habit. And then what reward are you going to give yourself? And you can use this. This idea comes from researcher BJ Fogg. You can actually give yourself a reward. You can say, yay, or pat yourself on the back. You give yourself that feeling of reward and you cheer yourself on. And that is going to make you more likely to do it again the next day. So most of the time, habits don't stick because they require motivation. When we're doing our normal habits, the things that you're doing day after day, they're so easy, right? It seems so easy. You're running on autopilot. And when you're trying to start a new habit, you're trying to change something and do something new, then it's going to use up motivation. And on any given day, if our new habit requires more motivation than we have, we're not going to do it. We're just not going to push through. Like the analogy I mentioned earlier with the elephant, we can't get that elephant off the path by sheer force. We can't do it. And so we need to use what I talked about with triggers and reward. We need to set up our environment to support us. There are all kinds of things that we can do to make sure that our habits stay the way we want them, that we're creating the life that we want to have, and we're not staying stuck in these patterns just because they're the way that we've always done things. So I want you to think for a second, what if you did things differently? What if you started small instead of starting with some big habit that isn't going to stick? What if you started really small? What if you gave yourself, oops, let me fix that. What if you gave yourself a reward every time you did that thing that you told yourself you were going to do? And just a side note here, I'm not talking about like you give yourself a bowl of ice cream, like you give yourself a yay or a pat on the back or something that inside that makes you feel good. What if you got help and coaching and accountability to help you see where you're lacking or where you're missing the pieces that are keeping you stuck or keeping you from where you wanted to go? What if a balanced, intentional life was not only possible for you, but it was inevitable? Because if you stay on this path, if you create the path that you want to have, you're going to get where you want to go. And it's really powerful because you don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay where you are. Change is possible. And that's so cool to know. When you change what you do daily, you change your life. And it really comes down to small changes. And that's what I love to help moms with. Mompreneur Life Made Simple really goes deep into this idea of habit formation and changing what you do every day by little tiny increments. And it's really helpful to have coaching around this because sometimes when you're just getting started, when you're doing little things, you don't see the change right away, and it can be frustrating. And so you need someone there to hold your hand and to say, like, you know what? You are on the right path. Keep going. This is going to make a difference. And so I would encourage you, if that is something that you need, that you would like help with, sign up for a call. We start next week, Mompreneur Life Made Simple. That's my 3-month group coaching program, and I can really help you through this. I would love to talk with you and see if it's a good fit. Have a great day. Let me know what stands out to you today and how I can help you to really create these new habits, or what has been hard for you with creating new habits, or why it feels hard and you feel stuck. So have a great day, you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.